and with Phil also in post-production and with Bob of figuring out these songs and coming in one morning and being like, ooh, Billy Squier, what about Billy Squier? And I think it's like a real signature to the show, and it's plus it's Midwestern, it's like two guys from Kansas in a muscle car, and this is the music they listen to. So, but I love it. There was the other night was Joe Walsh, Rocky Mountain Way, and I'm just laughing my ass off. I'm like, yeah, Rocky Mountain Way on the WB.
It also spreads because one of the editors said to me, and he's a very hip guy and really good musically. I walk into his room, we were going through songs. I said, well, do this song, this song. And 2 days later, I walk in, he goes, Bad Company's really good.
Okay, let's take 2 questions from the middle. One over there and one on the other side. On this side and then one on that side.
Hi, I'm an inspiring actor, and I wanted to know...
We're sorry.
I wanted to know how hard was it for you two to get started acting?
Go ahead.
All right, I'll field this. It's not the first time I've actually heard that question, and I'm so at a loss for what to tell you. I have a very interesting story. When I was in high school, I won a contest to be on the Teen Choice Awards and hold trophies and give them to Freddie Prinze Jr. when he got best hottie of
pretty much
world.
Been downhill since
it's
then.
Basically gone downhill. Yeah, and I wrote on Freddie Prinze's coattails. No, and I met an agent at the show. I met a manager actually, and Dan Spiel I'm still with to this day. So my girl Sandy over there. We started kind of talking over the phone with sides, and he had faith in me, and I was going back to high school, and I have a mommy that's a teacher and a daddy that was an accountant, and they were like, he's finishing high school, and I was like, why can't I go act? And anyways, I flew out for about a week during pilot season, and I booked a pilot, and then I used that money to go out during the summer. So I had a really kind of crazy, interesting story, but I have a lot of buddies who are, much more talented and more committed than I am that are still struggling to make it. So it's a tough industry, but just, keep working hard and keep making yourself better.
Jensen, how did you get started?
Well, I mean, like Jared said, there's really no set formula for how we have gotten to where we've got. Mine was kind of a sheer luck thing as well. I was doing theater in Dallas, and I happened to have a talent agent from LA sitting in, and came up to me afterwards and gave me his pitch, and I said, "Nah, you're full of crap." And I told him to bugger off, and then he went up to my folks and kind of gave them their pitch as well, and I guess they seemed a little bit more interested. And so a few years later, after his persistence, I finally said, maybe I'll go out there for a couple of months and check it out, see if he'll talk the talk. And I came out and started working right away, and it was about 8 or 9 years ago.
Okay. So, question on that side.
First of all, Shadow was a kick-ass episode, and I want to thank you all for that one because it was awesome. But let's get down to what really matters. What alcohol do you guys like to drink?
What alcohol do you got?
Because I see a lot of beers and stuff in the episode, and it's always my thing to place what y'all are drinking. So I was just wondering, are you hard guys, light guys? What do you like?
Oh, my mom would kill me.
Yeah, can we cut the tape right now?
We're rolling, check. Actually, one of the funny things about the beers is our prop master, Chris Cooper. Some of the beer labels, they're always fake labels.
Like
God?
a staple gun.
You know what I mean? And they're always fake labels, and it usually has something to do with the city that we're filming that episode in. Like if we're in Texas, it'll be like Lone Star Lager. If we're in Minnesota, it'll be like Timberwolf Ale or something like that. But we're Texas boys, I think.
Yeah, we'd probably drink what you imagine a couple Texas boys would drink.
Put in a cup.
That's right.
I have a question for you guys. I'm curious if this is possible to answer this question. If you could pick a scene that you either wrote or acted in or directed that's probably like your favorite scene that you've worked on since the show started, and if you could tell me why. Anybody want to take? Kim, go ahead.
I'll take that. Shadow. where the boys finally saw their father. Shadow was, I'm incredibly proud of, because there were 4 great scenes. The scene where the boys were arming up, and Dean blows at Sam and says, "Why do you think I got you out of Stanford in the first place? Why do you think I came to get you? Because I want us to be family again." And I'll tell you, Jensen had a tough time with that, and we kind of arm wrestled over it. And to get him there, and you know, because Dean is, you know, he's got his walls up, and to break down that wall for just a minute to look into Dean's heart was magical for me. And then when they met Dad in the apartment and in the alley, it was just, we worked very hard. Mm-hmm. The boys, their game of tennis improves 2,000% when they work with Jeffrey Dean or somebody like Nicky Aycox. You know, we find the nuances, and and acting, it becomes the crap that it is, and it becomes real life, and the words become their own, and the emotions become their own, and that's special for me.
And not just to say this, but having a great director to tell you exactly what to do doesn't make it hard. So, you know, I think Jensen and I would tell you 1,000 times every day that, you know, Kim got it out of us.
Yeah, to have him.
Hey, Jensen, did you not want to do that scene because you thought that Dean wouldn't say that?
Yeah, sometimes I guess I can be a little protective of just of Dean and him showing emotions, and I always and as an actor, as you grow with a character on a series, you really kind of become close to it, and you protect it. Mm-hmm. You protect that character, and I guess that was probably what that was. And I wasn't real sure how much of the layers to peel away in that scene, and I guess in that confusion, I kind of put up my own barrier. But if there was anybody to get me through it, it was Kim. So I'm glad he was there.
Great.
Yeah.
John, you have a favorite scene?
There was a moment in Skin that I'm proud of, and actually it sort of says something about how we tell our stories, because we're always saying, okay, we want to do this type of episode, we want to do this monster, but how it's supernatural to it, how is it special for our show? And I remember being in Kripke's palatial office of Warner Brothers.
So fountains.
Yeah, and talking through the story of Skin and the shapeshifter, and obviously, you know, there's all kinds of shapeshifting that's been done on television and movies, etc. And he said, we got to find our own. And we kicked it around and came up with that scene where shapeshifter Dean goes down in the sewer. And I remember reading some online post that some friend sent me that someone else, a fan, was watching the show and giving her impressions as she watched it. Oh my God, Dean's taking his shirt off. And then followed immediately by, oh my God, he's taking his skin off. And I knew then that we had it, and I was very pleased with that.
Oh, the things we do.
Jensen, you have a scene?
Yeah, one of my favorite. It's not really a full scene, but it's more of a shot. And it was in Dead in the Water, with Kim directed, where I saved the little boy out of the lake, and coming up out of the water. And it was a slow motion shot. It was very emotional, coming out of the water, and that was really neat. But the build up to that, shooting it, was really. I had this 10-year-old boy in my hand, and I'm keeping both of us afloat with one arm, because I can't move my feet, because I got 2 divers holding my feet below me who are about to pull me under. And I'm fine. I grew up swimming in lakes and all my life, but to have that sensation of somebody pulling you underwater, especially when you've got the life of a 10-year-old, little actor in your hand, and you're trying to keep him afloat, and he's got to play dead. It was a little overwhelming, and it was definitely unforgettable. But we got through it, and it turned out to be an awesome shot.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
Jared?
You know what? I've had some time to think. Well, they've answered their questions, and I'm going to go back to a scene in Wendigo that we did at the very, second episode of the year. And I remember there was just such a long period of time between the pilot and Wendigo. It was from March, April till July, and there were so many questions in my head when I found out we were getting picked up. Like, what's going to happen? Where are we going to start? Like, how do we start? How do we finish? How do we continue this story that we started in the pilot with so many things going down? How do we keep the momentum going? And there was this one particular scene that Jensen and I did on stage where he's got Dad's journal. He's saying, this is what it's about. And Sam is saying, I got to find Dad. And I remember we had a huge day that day. We had like 8 or 9 pages of dialogue. And Jensen and I realized that we had to do this scene. We're like, oh, crap. Like, what? Like, let's go memorize it. My trailer. We sat down in my trailer. And there was an acting coach that I work with whenever I can named Cameron Thorpe there with us. And, he kind of pushed and prodded me a little bit. And I don't know what he did to Jensen. But we were...
I don't want to talk about it.
It was noisy.
Never again.
That's between y'all and the wall. But anyways, we ended up kind of getting the scene and putting something there. And I think it was one of the first times I ever felt like I was hopefully doing what Kripke wanted, Like, I felt like, I think this is what Eric was envisioning. Like, I really felt... For some reason, there's one of those times when you finish a scene and you're like, wow, like, I don't know where that came from, but I don't know, whatever.
I remember seeing the dailies on that, too. We were just through the roof. It was incredible.
Bob?
I think my favorite scene is a really quiet scene, and it's at the end of the Faith episode. And that whole episode was really about, I think, very topical for today, about what's real faith. And Julie Benz comes in, has a scene with Jensen, and Jensen says to her, I'm not much for praying, but I'll pray for you. And she said, well, that's a miracle right there. And I thought that I thought it was really sweet. I thought it was incredibly well acted with both Julie and Jensen. And I thought that it probably, if people were listening, I think that probably was our finest moment to say something semi-political and be on the right side of that. I just hope it affected people the way it affected me.
I agree with all of those. All of those are incredible scenes. I would also add the scene when Dean first calls his father in home and tells him to come to Lawrence, and just the way that Jensen was able to try to put up those walls, but the walls kept breaking down, and that was amazing. But all those amazing scenes aside, everyone's given such classy answers. I have to say that when the dude stuck his hand in the disposal in home, and then the monkey starts clapping, and we had that shot beneath the sink, and you could actually see all the goo come out. And I said, and we shot it in dailies. I said, they'll never let us use that, and we used it. And it's more probably than any other scare sequence in the show. It's the one that people watch, and they can't even keep their eyes on the screen. And to me, that's sort of the fun of getting the effect out of the audience. So I'm going to say the garbage disposal scene in home.
It's great because that explains what Bob was talking about before with the 2 different approaches.
See, there you go.
Right. Okay, I want to thank you guys. You guys have been a great audience.
Can I say?
Before you go, don't go yet. I also want to thank. First of all, Eric's got something to say.
Well, I just want to say we have a lot of the people who work on Supernatural in the audience, and I want a round of applause for them for this unbelievable season. All of them have done such a. They've all murdered themselves to bring you this show, and we couldn't do it without any of them. So thank you to them.
And I also want to I want to thank you guys, all of you, for not just being here tonight, but also for the great work that you're doing. And you're obviously touching a chord. Thank you very much.
Thank you.